Level K, list 10, and we're doing the day one. And here we've got the AL in these sounds making the R sound. So colour in the ALs we go. Palm, calm, calf, half, halves, calves, almond. Then we're going to change colours and we've got the silent H in these words. So we've got ghost, hour and honest. Now I've got a few extra things in this list as well. So let's have a look here. Here we've got the F, calf and half. But if you look at making them into plurals, you can see that the F is changing into a V and then we're adding the ES. So the F changes to a V and we add the ES. You can hear it, calf, half, halves, calves. You can hear that difference there. And I think that's about all in there that we need to highlight. So let's have a look at what these words mean. So a palm could mean like a type of tree that you might see near the beach or in a tropical place or near a pool. It can also mean the palm of your hand. Calm means where you're feeling quite calm and settled, and it can also mean not rough, like the ocean might look calm, means it's very smooth and calm. A calf is the young of some animals, so a baby cow is called a calf, a baby elephant is called a calf, a baby dolphin is called a calf. So it can mean the young of an animal. Half means one of two parts, but if you have both parts we call them the halves. It's more than one. So it's a little bit different there where we're changing that F to a V. Calves means two calves, so we don't say calves, we say calves, and we change the F to a V once again. An almond is a type of nut. A ghost is an imaginary figure. Some people like to dress up as a ghost for Halloween because it's a nice, easy thing to dress up as. You just have to put a white sheet over you, really. So another word for a ghost would be an apparition. It's something that people think they might see. An hour is equal to 60 minutes, so when the big hand gets back around to the 12, we know that's an hour. Honest means when you tell the truth, and it makes us good when we feel good when we're honest about something. So that's about the only things we need to highlight in those words. Let's go back and read the word, sound the word, spell the word and write it. So we're going to go palm, p-a-m, 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 p-a-l-m, p-a-l-m, p-a-l-m. Cover it and write it 3 times. Then you might need to go back and just check that you've spelled it correctly because it's quite an unusual way of spelling the R sound in these words. So just be very careful, thinking lots while you do this list. This is level K, list 10 and the day 2 page, and we're revising that the AL is making the R sound in these words. So we've got palm, calm, calf, half, halves, calves and almond. We're also going through the silent H. There's not a lot of words with the silent H in them, so we've got ghost, hour and honest. So let's have a look at what these words mean. A palm could mean a palm tree, or it could mean the palm of your hand. Calm means when something isn't rough, it's the ocean might be smooth or calm, or it means to soothe someone down. A calf is a baby cow. Half is one part of 2. If you have halves, it means you've cut something into, or divided something into 2 equal parts and you've got both of them. So halves. Calves is when you have more than one calf. Almond is a type of nut. A ghost is like an apparition or a mystical figure that some people think is real, but it's an easy thing to dress up as in Halloween. Hour is where you have 60 minutes make an hour. honest is when you tell the truth, you're honest. So let's have a look at reading, sounding and spelling these words. Just before we do that, we've got a bit of a problem here that you need to realise. These words that we have end in F, when we want to change these particular ones into a plural, we have to change the F to a V and add ES. So we end up with VES at the end of the word rather than FS, and we make the word halves or calves, etc. So we don't always change the F to a V, so the easiest way to know whether you are going to change an F to a V is to listen to the word when you say it in its plural form. Halves. So you can hear the V there. You couldn't say halves. You couldn't say calves, you'd have to say calves. So you can hear the V, the F changing to the V in those two words. The other thing that you need to look at here too is that we're using a C for the sound before an A in many of these words, calm, calf and calves. In almond, you got the up sound there, so it's probably a lazy monk word, where we knew it was too hard for them to write in cursive writing the U. It was very difficult and they made lots of mistakes, so they changed the U to an O. And the other reason being that it was very hard to read in cursive writing when they put a U in there, so they really need to change that U to an O for that reason too. Now in owl you've got the owl sound, and honest you can just sound that one out. Alright, so palm is P-A-L-M. Then you're going to cover it and write it and check to make sure that you've spelled it correctly. Here you have to write the word to match the meaning. So a calf isn't just the young of a cow, it's also the young of an elephant as well, and a dolphin. There are many animals that call their young a calf. Part of a hand, an apparition, you can work out those ones on your own. Now, how many is a half a dozen? Well, we know a dozen is 12, so what would half of that be? Half a century, you know that the word cent means 100, so half a century would be 100 years, or if you're playing cricket, a half a run, a half 100, you've got to work out what that number would be. Fill in the gaps with a list word. I greedily ate both something of the chocolate bar. I greedily ate both halves of the chocolate bar. So you can fill in those missing words into those sentences using these words from above. Fill in the gaps with a list word and link the independent clauses. The author was not being honest when he said he would arrive in an hour, so you'd link those two. Mum asked me to chop half a dozen almonds. You can work out which one that links to. The girl was not calm. What would be the other ones over here? The dependent clauses that would go with that was when she thought she saw obviously a ghost. And the last one down the bottom, we've already talked about that one. Into 12 halves for the cake. So they're quite tricky, so you might need those hints to help you finish off putting some of those words into those spaces. This is level K, list 10, and we're doing the day 3 page. And in these words, we've got the AL making the R sound. So we've got P-R-M. We'll colour these in as we go. K-R-M, K-R-F, P-R-F, and H-R-Vs, K-R-Vs, almond. So you have to know in these words to use AL for the R sound. Then we're going on to a different thing. We don't have a lot of silent H's in our words, but these are 3 words with silent H in them. We've got ghost, hour, and honest. Now let's go back and see if there are any other things that we need to highlight in these words. So get a couple of extra highlighters and be ready to go. Palm, no, that's fairly easy. It ends in the LM, calm, calf, half. Now, we're going from half to halves. To know whether to change an F or not into a V, listen to the way you say it with the S added. Halves. Yes, you can hear the V there. Now, usually English words can't end in a V, so we've put that E in, and then we've added the S to show it as a plural. So calf, calves. Yes, here with calf and calves we have changed the F to a V. We know English words can't end in E, so we've added the E and then we've added the S to make it into a plural. So just be careful. The easiest way to know whether some words that end in F the F will change to a V, and in some words it won't. So the easiest way is to say the word and then hear it in its plural form if it sounds like a V or an F. So chief, we wouldn't change, chiefs. Roofs, we wouldn't change, we'd say roofs. So, dwarfs, we wouldn't change, we'd say dwarfs. Whereas there are some words like knives that we can hear quite easily that we do change the F to a V. Now in ghost, hour and honest, there's not really any patterns in there that we can see. Don't forget the O-U-R, the ow sound in hour. In almond, we've got the O making the ut sound. We call that a lazy monk word because remember the years gone by, the monks used to write in cursive script. I'll just write it up here so you can see. So they would have written it in running writing and it would be a lot fancier than mine. And they would have put the U in, almond. But it's really hard to write all those up and down strokes with a quill because remember they used to write with feathers dipped in ink. And they used to make a lot of errors, which mean they'd have to start the whole page again if they made a mistake. So that's quite awkward to write. And then the readers would say, well, we can't read these words with all these up and down strokes in them. So in words where the letters either side of the U had a lot of up and down stroke, they decided to change the U for the ut sound into an O. So it made it easier for people to read the word and easier for them to write the word. So that's why the lazy monks changed that U to an O in almond. It's in quite a few words too. Okay, let's get our little bit of paper and read the words, sound the words and spell them. So we've got palm, P-A-R-M, P-A-L-M, cover it and write it, and then check to make sure you've got it right. Let's go down to ghost. This has a silent letter, so ghost, you don't sound that silent letter, but when you spell it, you must spell it G-H-O-S-T, and the spelling of it is very important along with the sounding, because when you spell it, you know that you're going to remember to put that silent letter in. Now plurals, we've got, these are obviously nouns that we can turn into either a singular or a plural form. So we could have one calf, two calves, one half, both halves, one palm, many palms. So that's quite an easy exercise for you. Finish the sentence using list words or extensions. So don't forget that bit, extensions. The child, something was praised by the teacher. You'll have to work out what the missing word is in there. The something of the sea made for good sailing conditions. Now don't forget you've got to add extensions to those words. So if you were doing these, it might not sound right if you just say the list word. It's what you have to add on to that list word to make it make sense, to make it sound right when you read it. So if once you know these base words and how to add to them, it will make spelling a lot easier for you. So go through that one, and you might have to work for it as a group to see if you can get those answers correct. Categorize or group the words. So if you're hearing as in car, with those words you're going to write them here. If you're hearing R as in mask, and we're only using an A for the R sound, you're going to write those words here. And if you're hearing R as in palm, and we're using the AL, so any words with the AL for the R sound you'd write here. This is the AR that those words that you're writing down here. Proofread and rewrite. Which one is correct? Write it on the line. Proofread. Which one is correct? Write it on the line. This is level K, list 10, and we're doing the day 4. And here we're introducing you to speech marks. So when we write a speech mark to indicate that someone is starting to speak, we put a 66, which is a dot with the tail going up at the top of where they're starting. And then we put the 99 to indicate where they've finished speaking. So anything they're actually saying goes between the 66 and the 99. And also your punctuation must go inside that space as well. Whenever anyone starts speaking, we always put a capital letter. Right, then at the end of it or at the start of it, you can indicate who is speaking by using some saying verbs. So said, exclaim, asked, muttered, there's all sorts of words you could use. We've covered that before. And then you have to put their name before the full stop. So you only use lowercase letters for the saying verb. When you're indicating who, you must use the capital letter there again. So the punctuation is becoming very important now. So this is what John is saying. It says, said John. He's actually saying, my birthday is on the 21st of July. That's what he's saying. So you can see we have the speech mark here to indicate where he's starting to speak, and speech marks here to indicate where he finishes speaking. And on the line you'll see a little comma down there. So we've got to put that punctuation inside the speech mark. So let's add speech marks to this one. This bus gives me the creeps. That's what Julia's saying. It says, whispered Julia. So now you can see we've put the capital letter for the start of where she's speaking. We need to put the 66 there and the 99 after the comma and before the whispered. So it's going to go up in the air there. 2 dots with the tail coming down at the end, 2 dots with the tail going up at the start. And the saying verb is whispered, and Julia is the person who's speaking. Then we've got, oh, don't be such a chicken, exclaimed Josh. So you have to highlight what he's saying, might make it easier for you. Add your 66 and your 99 outside the exclamation mark. And then, look, we've got the lowercase for the saying verb, but a capital letter for their name. Full stop at the end of the sentence. You can work your way through the 4 of those. Down the bottom it says, add the speech marks and highlight the saying verb. Okay, so for example, Farmer Jones yelled. So yelled is a saying verb, so that's the bit we have to highlight. And then he says, don't go too close to that cow. She has just given birth to her first calf. So the words that the farmer actually says, we've got inside the 66 and the 99, or what we call the speech marks. And remember that punctuation is inside the speech mark. Every time they start speaking, we have a capital letter. So Susie asks, how old is the cow, Mr. Jones? So we can see what she's asking. We put the 66 here, the 99 at the end, and we highlight the saying verb. So you can finish that off on your own.